name calling one another, stop cursing one another, stop gossiping about one another, stop squabbling with one another, stop being discourteous and disrespectful to one another, stop fighting one another, stop killing one another, stop using and selling drugs to one another, stop throwing down trash where black people have to live, work, and play. Did I say stop stealing, stop robbing? Now, as I said, the pressure of the white supremacy dynamic that forces black people to think negatively about themselves and set up negative environmental conditions will produce these negative behaviors. You see, but that's just like somebody putting you in check from the other side of the board. So you have to learn the tactics and strategies, the behavioral tactics and strategies, do you see, that will stop that from happening. So you're constantly on the offensive and the defense about preserving or evolving and developing a very positive image and concept.
Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams tapping in. Once again, this is the End of the Bench Media. I am tapping in for the second time this week. This is a few minutes with HRap. Information that I hope will enhance your day, life, week, year, month, so forth and so on. As I do every day, I thank my parents, Dolores and John. Thank you to Dolores and John. Without them, there would be no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. Thank you again. It's going to be interesting, I believe. If you're not watching this live, please go to www.endofthebench.com and watch it. You get traffic on my website. You'll see the Black History video that I will show at some point in the evening in its entirety. At that point, you'll be able to enhance yourself. Remember, the mantra of the show is we're going to make life better for our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren. That's what we need to be thinking. We can no longer think about ourselves in the immediate future. We must think 100, 200 years into the future. Therefore, we can no longer just sit stagnant and put ourselves in a position to be attacked. Now, what I want you to do is tap in, lock in, stay focused, because I believe I'm going to offer you some information. We're talking about the evil from within. What is the evil from within? You see the thumbnail. If you got a link, you saw the thumbnail. The thumbnail is white nationalism. The thumbnail is white nationalism. These people who pretend to be supremacists, I don't understand how you can be supremacist when you have nothing to be supreme to. But hey, that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the people who are in charge of the United States federal government. I'm talking about the president of the United States of America. I'm talking about some of the movers and shakers in the business world, whether it be tech, whether it be other forms of business. These people are billionaires and they want to control the world. They can't do it unless you allow it. They have no regard for the law. They know how, basically, they know how to manipulate things. So today we're going to talk about the laws. We're going to talk about the new slave trade. And we're going to talk about friends and allies. The reason I want to talk about those things is because we see it, in my opinion, from my perception and from my perspective. Excuse me. Thank you, Alfred. The way I see it, we have some of these things confused. When you talk about the disregard to the law, let's just jump right into it. Disregard to the laws. The United States Constitution is supposed to be, for all intents and purposes, the Bible of the United States of America. It is the Bible of the United States of America. That's the way laws are laid out. That's the way they are back mapped. And this is how we are supposed to be governed. You have all kinds of amendments. You have rights, the Bill of Rights. You have several amendments, as I stated, and then you have the broad dog Constitution, and a lot of people don't even understand it. There has been a total disregard for the Constitution because the judiciary is three branches of government: the executive, the judiciary, and Congress, and the House of Representatives, congressional portion. These are the lawmakers. These people are supposed to keep each other in checks. It's for checks and balances. No branch is greater than the other one. But at this point, the president seems to be taking over, and you have white nationalism reigning supreme. You have tons of people pretending as if they know what's going on, and they really don't. They haven't taken the time to study these things. And when you don't take the time to study these things, you fall victim to them. And if you're going to fall victim to them, you must be prepared to galvanize and work together. So people who are in your position or in your lane, so to speak, will be protected at all times. Now, a lot of people are not aware of what's going on. Qualified immunity is something that was taken off the table yesterday, basically giving police officers in the United States of America, border to border, coast to coast, total immunity to no matter what they do. Do you understand that there are some people who are flat out raw dog wicked that wear those guns and badges? I'm not saying all police officers are horrible. I'm not saying most of them are, but the ones that are, they will shoot you down like a dog in the street because they've bought into white nationalism. And as I spoke about yesterday, black fatigue. They think that we're crying and we're pretending and we're just grandstanding about the issues that are going on in the community because they've taken the time to buy into white nationalism, propagandized news. We can't live in a lawless university like that. I mean, a lawless universe like that. And that's what's going on. You have people who are saying, hey, man, I, and see those people. And when you start separating yourself from humanity, that's when you find yourself in a conundrum. Point blank, period. When you have the president of the United States, who, and I'm, in my personal opinion, I'm not calling him, this is just the way I see it. If you have him participating in white nationalism, and then you have the Congress participating in the white nationalism, and you have the people who are supposed to be serving and protecting it, participating in white nationalism, and then they're saying that you're making excuses, you're lazy, you're tired, you're trifling, you're benevolent, and you put yourself in a bad situation. And because people invest in people like Trump and people invest in people like J.D. Vance and people investing in people like Rafael Cruz, because his name is not Ted. His name is not Ted. Don't call him Ted. His name is Rafael. But when you see Tucker Carlson embarrass him in front of the world, we still have people backing that. At that point, you need to realize you are in danger. When you remove qualified immunity, basically, we're removing the checks and balances from police officers. A lot of police officers will stop before they do anything because they know, hey, I'll be held accountable. And if I'm held accountable, I don't want to pay the piper. If the piper does not have to be paid, then I'm living lawlessly because now I'm living out all my white nationalism fantasies. And that's what we're going to have to deal with. Another thing, when we were dealing with about 3 months ago, at the beginning of this regime, you start talking about, you saw Doge talking about gathering information. Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. They're going to make things better. They haven't made anything better. They've made things worse. Anytime you're going to reduce Medicaid and Medicare, and when you want to reduce the SNAP program, and you want to reduce low-income housing and things of that nature, you actually have people saying, hey, man, they need to get up and do something on their own. Well, what I want you to understand is this. In the event that you ever need some assistance or anything, please don't ask anyone. Please don't look for any assistance. I mean, if you slip or fall on the ground and you can't get up, hey, you shouldn't have fallen. See, that's the mentality that we need to get away from. Everyone needs some help in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And if you're not willing to offer that assistance, don't look for it. And most of us would look for a hand up. Most of us, if we were falling, we would want someone to soften that blow. If you have the ability to offer me SNAP benefits, I would want those SNAP benefits, because guess what? Anytime you're living in a world in which pay is being frozen and the economy is being blown up at outrageous proportions, then something is going to have to give. You're going to create dire straits. And when you create dire straits, what happens? People start living in survival mode. Murders go up. Thievery goes up. Mayhem ensues. And that's where we're living currently. And guess what? If you've worked your entire life and you plan to live on your 401k, but the stock market crashed and now your 401k isn't worth what it was, and you plan to live on your pension with additional to Social Security because that's what you were told, or Medicaid and Medicare will help you out, which it should, because in every free country on the planet Earth, it's working in that fashion. Why would you be put into a situation where you can't? If you're a senior and you worked your entire life and you were prepared for this moment and this dude snatched the rug from up under you, then what? And what about the women with all these children? What about them? You don't know their circumstances, so please don't judge. If you don't want people judging you, don't judge anyone. See, that's the problem. We have lost the ability to have empathy and have empathetic thoughts about anyone besides ourselves. And when things go bad, what about me or I? Like I said yesterday, we need to kill all the I's and the me's, instead focus on the us and the we's. Because if you don't focus on the us and the we's, understand your turn at the bottom of the pile is coming. You may be way up here, but the bottom of the pile is not far from you. It is a precipitous fall, and you will break your back when you hit the surface unless you step up and work with these people. A lot of people are ignoring the fact that Doge gathered all our information, and wait till you find out what information, what they did with that information. They gathered our work information, our tax information, our academic information, our employment information, our social security information, our banking information. Why did they need that? That's a government agency. That information was separated for a reason, for the event, in the event that someone tried to do this. One of the greatest threats to our democracy is what's happening right now. What's happening right now? You have people being scooped up. Well, they're illegally here, HRap. Well, hell, so are you, because if you were stolen from where you are from, aka kidnapped, aka enslaved, aka upended from where you're from, then it's illegal for you to be here because you shouldn't have been here in the first place. It's illegal for people to come over here and take the indigenous people's land and then take their home and rape their women and eat their women and rape their men and destroy that and take over their land. That's illegal too. So how can you talk about justice on stolen land? But we're not thinking about that. Oh, well, they should have taken the proper process. Hell, we should have been processed as well. But you are not paying attention to what's going on. A couple of years ago, when I first started this mission, I told you Florida, Georgia, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arizona are some of the breeding grounds for the new laws. Guess what? A few years ago, in Texas, as well as Texas, they reinstituted what's called the Fugitive Slave Act. A lot of us don't know what the Fugitive Slave Act is. The Fugitive Slave Act is when our ancestors were enslaved and they were stricken with what they determined was drapetomania, which meaning I want my freedom. They were identified as runaways from these plantations. And if you, a free person or a person with freedoms, assisted that person in escaping enslavement, you were part of the Fugitive Slave Act and you were in violation of the law. How did that work? We're no longer slaves. How does that work? Well, it works like this. In Texas, they say if you go get an abortion in Illinois, where HRap is, and HRap pays for that plane ticket, he's in violation of the law because he knew you were coming here to get an abortion. So he assisted you in breaking the law. Fugitive Slave Act. How is that affecting us? Because guess what? Congress just said it's legal to grab people off the street who are Americans. And if you help them without proper documentation, you are in violation of the law. Yes, you are in violation of the law. Now, there are people who are American citizens who are being captured as well. Ask yourself this. If somebody walked up to you today, how would you be able to prove that you were born and raised in the United States of America? How would you be able to say that you're a legal citizen? Do you have a passport in your pocket at all times? Do you have what is called the real ID in your pocket at all times? Maybe, maybe not. Most of us don't walk around with a passport, and I don't have a real ID. So how would I be able to prove it? So if they say, hey, you're part of this group, you're part of that group just because they said it, and then you'll be put in a containment camp. And guess what? A lot of those people in those containment camps are being placed in foreign prisons. Guess what? Some of those prisons are in countries in Africa, the Sudan, which is in the middle of a civil unrest. If they're in the middle of a civil war, which means there is no defining government, which means there's no diplomacy, and there's no diplomacy, that means you're in a foreign jail. How would you get home? And guess what? If you're from Venezuela, if you're from Haiti, it's not Haiti, it's Haiti. If you're from that place, if you're from the Dominican Republic, or if you're from South America, you probably are not speaking English or not speaking English to the king's taste. And now you're in Africa. Please help me understand how you're going to get out of that. So you got people from Venezuela sitting in African prisons in the Sudan, in South Sudan, in South Africa, and other places. Well, some of these people are not even speaking English, and they're housing these people. And guess what? All of them are not illegals, or as you determine illegals. I don't determine them illegals. How are they gonna get home? Because the country is in unrest. So how do they get home? For the record, Alabama is attempting to pass a law. So guess what? You, as an American citizen, you know, the enemy within, as your president said, because according to Alabama, our prisons are too soft, so we should be able to deport prisoners to other countries. Venezuela got $2 million, $6 million. African countries are getting paid to house American citizens. Unless you are unaware of that, if you are willing to grab someone off the street and identify them as an illegal and capture them and send them to another country, does that sound familiar to you? If it doesn't, you're definitely not Black, because that's exactly what happened to us in West Africa, and East Africa, Southern Africa, along the coast. They grabbed people of our ancestry and brought them over to this hemisphere and put them to work and put them in containment camps. And they called them pretty words like plantations. Yes, this is what's going on. This is the new slavery. This is the new slavery. This is the new slave trade. And if you don't believe it, I think you need to just look into it. I'm not here to try to convince you. I'm here to give you information. All you have to do is research it, and you'll find out that people are being contained. How did the Doge work into that? Because some of those people, your information is lined up. And you could be like here in Chicago, they have a gang database. You don't have to be in a gang. You don't have to ever represent a gang. But if you are in the gang database, you could have been walking down the street with one of your friends who's affiliated with a street organization. And because they're affiliated with that street organization, so are you now. Now you're in the gang database. So if you are in the gang database, that means you could potentially be labeled a menace to society. And if they just reinstituted stop and frisk on a national platform, guess what? Because you let those people from Haiti, you let those people from Venezuela and other Central American countries and South American countries and Mexico and other places, if people are brown, be abducted and sent away, guess what? You're next. If you, I used this analogy last week. If there's a bully and he's beating up on the guy that's 5'5", then he's beating up on the guy 5'6", 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you're 6 feet tall, here are your options. You can galvanize, organize, and you can immobilize those people, the 5'5", the 5'6", the 5'7", the 5'8", the 5'9", 5'10", and 5'11" guy. That's 8 people against that one bully. You will win the fight. Or you can sit back and fall victim to the bully's rhetoric. I'm going to beat you up if you help me. Guess what? Or they've done wrong, and that's why I'm attacking them. In this case, guess what happens? The bully is defeated. And then you can live your own, you can go about your own merry way. That's how they're going to do this. You remember, for the last maybe 7 to 8 years, you've been seeing what is termed a Karen. And she's on the phone calling the police saying they're barbecuing. And then one woman is on her phone saying, hey, this guy's attacking me with a dog. And he's videotaping her. He's attacking me with my dog. And he's videotaping her. And it's obvious that she's lying. And we've seen several hundred of these women doing that. They've been identified as Karens. They've created an app to identify illegals. So that same lady that's sitting on the phone that's a Karen, she's calling ICE now and saying, hey, this guy doesn't look like an American. And what do you think she thinks an American looks like? It ain't, they don't look like me. They probably don't look like you. They don't look like Latino people. They don't look like people from Haitian people. They don't look like Jamaican people. So what do they look like? So if you are not in the database and you can't prove who you are you one of the people that will be put in those containment camps overseas or in South America or Central America? Maybe. But guess what? That's what's going on. And now she won't have to be bothered with Black Lives Matter and Brown Lives Matter and rallies outside her house, because she'll just be able to pull up an app. You don't have to believe me. Look it up. Look into it. ICE has an app. And how did they get that app? Because Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, took all your information and put it in that app. And guess what? ICE, they've already documented, and Stephen Miller, he said, hey, We're not going by the list anymore. We're just picking up people. We're going to go, and I quote, I'm going to send ICE to the Home Depots, and we're just going to grab people. What makes you think just the Latino people at Home Depot are illegals? Maybe I'm just a handy person without place of employment. But we're going to watch these people get terrorized by these white nationalists. Hey, by the way, when was the last time, if you're a police officer, if you're a friend of a police officer, or used to be a police officer, anything of that nature, or you just watch the police on TV, when have you ever seen a bunch of Mitch Mac police officers? Task forces used to be in all black. They used to have a vest. They have a vest that says police. They all had the same boots. They all had the same pants, and they move in the same direction with military force. But these guys got wife beaters, tank tops. No disrespect to women. That's kind of, I don't know how that, I do know how I got it, but they got tank tops on. They got T-shirts on. They got sweatshirts. They have gym shoes. They got boots. So you know what that could be? That's just like, again, this is the new slave trade. Remember, they used to deputize people when they go get a posse. When they got a posse and say, hey, that black person touched a white woman, and they would go get a posse and deputize anybody who wanted to be down and go get you. How we know those are not the same tactics that are happening right now? Because you're not paying attention, because the news is depressing and I don't like it. And it's a sad commentary. Well, if it's a sad commentary, you may be the star of that damn movie. See, this is what happens when you allow people to divide and conquer you. Don't tell me about how much you love Jesus, how much you love the Lord, and the Lord did this for you, and the Lord did that for you. The Lord, Allah, 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 Jehovah, 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 whoever you, Buddha, whoever you pray to, and whoever your deity is. Don't tell me you're in lockstep with that, but you allow your friends and neighbors to get hurt. Because the last time I checked, the Bible that I read, every Bible say a little something different. NIV, King James Version, whichever one you read. But I know it says, love your brother as you love yourself. And he didn't mean, the author that did not mean your biological brother, your brother in your spirituality, your brother in earth. And guess what? Hey, just in case you're part of Islam, to hurt one person is to hurt everyone. Oh, dang. How are we going to allow people to get hurt and stay stuck with Islam or Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism, meaning we're all part of the all. Everybody is part of the same package. So, thank you. We're all part of the same package. And if we're part of the same package, then we need to be working in unison to make sure we're all safe. And if you allow that person down the way because somebody who stole the land deemed them illegal, how about this? A lot of people in our community, this is a woke community. You can call me woke or whatever you want to call me. A lot of people in this community, they say things like, hey, what do they say? They say, we're our ancestors' greatest dreams. Don't forget, the people who are diametrically opposed to you, they have ancestors' dreams as well. Those people with those white shirts and those white sheets and those pointy hats, they have grandchildren as well. And they had dreams and aspirations as well. So what are you going to do when those aspirations and dreams come to fruition? You're going to have to fight. Look, we saw the true effect of divide and conquer in Nazi Germany and Europe in the 30s and the 40s. We saw it. We saw 2 world wars worth of separation and dividing and conquer. And if you are a human being and you want to allow someone to be taken from their country, listen to what we're talking about. You got people who came here looking for liberation, looking for an opportunity, and you have the government or non-government agents grabbing those people, putting them into vessels, shipping them to a third country. People, if that isn't the new slavery, what is? But we're allowing it to happen because you've been told that they don't like me anyway. So guess what? Put yourself in the Abakanashi Jewish position, okay? We're going to put our Latino brothers in the what's called the gypsy position. And then we're going to put our Haitian and Jamaican and darker brothers in the Ethiopian Jew position. Ethiopian Jews were exterminated first. The Haitians or the Latinos or the gypsies will be second. Who stirred? Us. Or what you can do is check this video out, and I'll get back to you in a second. I'm going to put this video up because I don't want to skip this. I was about to go into the last part of the show, but I'm going to want you to watch this video because it's important. It's important that you know your history. Your history is paramount to who you are. First thing the doctor asks you when you get in there, what's your family history? So you need to know your cultural history as well. I'm going to show a brief piece of this video, and then you'll be able to see this. And then if you want, I'll give you the instructions on watching at the end. But check this out.
Any American city in the late 1800s, early 1900s, cities would be teeming with vibrant community interactions. Wide streets filled with children playing, neighbors gathering for casual conversations, merchants pushing carts and selling goods, and countless of pedestrians spontaneously crossing the street wherever they please. These streets back then were more than just transportation routes. They were dynamic public spaces used by everyone, spaces that invited life, community, and interaction. Every person had equal rights to these thoroughfares, and the idea of restricting pedestrian movement seemed entirely unthinkable until a revolutionary technological advancement, the automobile. So join us today while we discuss the strangely racist history of jaywalking. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. If you like audio-only episodes, you can find my podcast wherever you get your podcasts. But without further ado, let's get started.
Why are you not investing in tax liens? No, seriously. Why are you not investing into one of the most incredible...
Starting in the early 20th century, the social dynamic began to shift dramatically with the arrival of a new technological advancement, the automobile. By the 1900s, particularly in the decade of the 20s, increasing numbers of automobiles swiftly descended on the streets of American cities, promising speed, excitement, status, and convenience. Quickly, they became more than just a novelty. They represented progress in modern, prosperous society. But the new freedom innovation came with a steep price. What had been a communal space safe for children, families, and elderly pedestrians became increasingly dangerous, even deadly. Cities across America grappled with concerns over soaring injuries and tragic accidents and sudden death connected to automobiles. Pedestrian casualties rose dramatically as people unaccustomed to these fast-moving machines tried to navigate these suddenly perilous streets. Initially, opinion was largely sympathetic to pedestrians. Newspapers and journalists regularly reported on the disturbing rise in automobile-related fatalities, calling attention to the very real human toll of these cars. Emotional articles detailed heartbreaking tragedies alongside poignant illustrations portraying cars as ruthless killing machines. Judges across America routinely place accountability firmly upon drivers, often fining and imprisoning them after serious accidents. An outcry arose from communities nationwide demanding strict regulations, better enforcement, and speed limits, and harsher legal ramifications for reckless driving. Understandably alarmed by this public reaction, automobile companies and their allies quickly realized that continued market growth and future profitability depended greatly on shifting the blame away from car operators and on to pedestrians themselves. So car manufacturers joined forces with powerful associations, auto clubs, and industry-funded think tanks and advertising networks to embark on an intense nationwide campaign. Their message was clear, persistent, and profoundly troubling. They deliberately introduced and popularized a new derogatory term, jaywalking, applying this label exclusively to pedestrians who cross streets without following newly imposed rules that favored automobiles. The word jay in the early 20th century was American slang that labeled a person as naive, unsophisticated, or simply clueless, a country bumpkin, if you will. This careful insult thus effectively branded previously acceptable pedestrian behavior, crossing streets freely, as backwards, irresponsible, and socially unacceptable. In 1925, Los Angeles became among the earliest large cities in America to enact pedestrian protections and regulatory ordinance, criminalizing street crossing practices that had once been commonplace. Soon after, in 1928, automobile companies working alongside federal.
Now, what I'm going to do is let you know you can go to www.theendofthebitch.com and watch that video in its entirety. It is a very intriguing and very informative piece of media. I want you to understand these. The reason I show you this thing is because I need you to understand why you are in the situation you're in. It's easy to follow suit and say, hey, if you don't ... then you will be subject to ... But if you are in a changing, ever-changing world, everyone does not adapt to the world of saying at the same pace. And if you don't adapt to the world at the same pace, you'll fall behind. If you fall behind, then you'll fall victim. And if you're saying right now, hey, well, you need to keep up. How many of you guys can change out a hard drive out of software, out of computer? How many of you people can install and uninstall software? How many people could run a board like I'm running and without flaw? I don't even do it without flaw, without hiccup or anything of that nature. How many of you can just do something as simple as reset your modem? If any of those things you cannot do, that will be the equivalent of someone jaywalking, because I spent a few centuries not looking for those things, and now all of a sudden I have these auto machines running at me and putting myself in danger. And you're definitely going to understand the racial aspect of it if you go and watch this in its entirety. But back to the point that I was covering. You can allow people to be mistreated, disregarded, and disrespected if you like. But understand, if you allow that, you're next. This is the point in having friends and allies. Friends versus allies. We don't need any more friends. No one needs a boatload of friends, because friends take care. Friends you have to invest in, and friends you must protect at all costs. Sometimes it may even cost you their or your life. I'm not asking for more friends. I'm asking for allies. See, allies have a common issue: discriminatory practice, disregard, disrespect, and a flat out attack on your humanism is why you need allies, because they don't just attack one group. You allow them to attack the Native Americans, you're next. If you allow them to attack the Asians, you're next. If you allow them to attack the Blacks, you're next. If you allow them to attack the Latinos, you're next. But like I continue to say, if 10% of the population, or less than 10% of the population on the entire planet Earth is attacking all four of those groups, if those four groups stand up and say, no, it's over. As I stated to you, over the last 100 years, there have been several coups throughout the entire human population, and every one of those coups that were nonviolent, and 3.08% of the population, this is what they did. They stood up and fought, and they overthrew the racist or the tyrannical regime that they were against. Now, couldn't 3.8% of the population stand up here in America in unison? Yes, they could. If you're looking for them to be your friend, wrong. I don't need you to be my friend. I need you to be my ally. We have a common enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or my ally. The enemy of my enemy is my ally. And at that point, you are fighting in unison, so you can have Little Italy, so you can have St. Patrick's Day, so you can have Cinco de Mayo, so you can have Juneteenth, so you can have June Pride Month, so you can have anything that you want, because it according to the aforementioned at the top of the program, I mentioned the Constitution. That is the Bible of the country. That is supposed to be setting the rules and regulations of the country. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of choice. This is what your Constitution, your contract states. Hey, guess what? If you start making alliances with people who are registering to vote, this is why I keep telling people you need to get your behinds back into a place of faith, because guess what? If you are going to church on a regular basis, now you have a spot in which you can galvanize under one roof, you can organize for one mission, and then you can go out and enact those things. You got people like Buster DeForest in New Jersey. He has built, actually changed, put traffic stop lights up. He has put trash receptacles in communities. Why is that important? If you're looking at trash on the ground, you feel like trash, and you're not trash. You're thinking less than of yourself. It is chaotic. Clean your bedroom one day. If you have a chaotic house, clean your house from top to bottom. Watch how much you relax. You clean your community. And then he start opening up grocery stores in the name of the church. Now, guess what? You have employment that's through the church. And then all y'all who don't want to dig deep in your pockets, you don't really have to, because you're going to shop with the church and you're giving the church your money right off the rip, and the church is getting paid. Guess what else he's doing? He's buying at cost housing. He's buying above standard, meaning the standard is sea level. He's making A-level homes and selling them at cost. That means you can get your pastor to do that. Why is that important? Because if there are 10 more houses on your block, that's 10 more people paying taxes. That's 10 more people paying taxes. That means your streets are paid better. That means your schools are better funded. That means your children have more opportunities. That means businesses will come and go. That means you can become a self-sufficient community. It all started at your church, synagogue, or mosque. This is what we need to understand. And I did say church, synagogue, or mosque, or hall, Jehovah's Witnesses hall. The reason I want you to understand these things is because you have to invest in yourself or your community if you want yourself or community to be paid dividends, or your community to pay dividends to you. Or you can sit back and let Doge take over the world. You can let Elon Musk take over the world. You can let fall for the okie doke by talking about Puff Daddy and his trial, and talk about Fat Joe and his trial, and talk about Shannon Sharp and his situation, and talk about all these things. You can talk about Jim Jones saying he better than Nas, or you can talk about the fact that they're trying to do away with kindergarten, and people who go to kindergarten have a 75% chance of going to college. We can be talking about that. Or you can start complaining that we don't ever support each other. But then if you start investing in your community, guess what? Your church might be able to create a bank. Or we can go to one. All these churches in the city of Chicago could come together, or the pastor, just say on the west side of Chicago. These churches come together and go to One United Bank and create a bank, create a situation to where we're invested in One United Bank. One United Bank creates a situation so where you can repair your credit. You repair your credit. Now you can get a loan. You get a loan. You get a house. You get a house so you can start a business. You can start a business. You can open up a grocery store. You open up a grocery store. You have money into perpetuity. These things can be fixed if you stop watching the parade and start watching the manufacturing. You can manufacture your success, or you can watch the parade and be enslaved. Those are your options. With that being said, thank you for tapping in. Watch to the end. I need you all to do this. Bam! I need you all to do that. I need you to hit that like, hit that share. And once the program ends, I want you to just, if it's not too difficult, I want you to write in the chat room after you see the end of Dr. Amos Wilson. I want you to write where you're from. Do me a favor. The reason I want you to do that after the show is over, it helps me in the algorithm. If you hit like, that helps. If you share, that helps. And if you comment after the program is ended, which is only going to take you about 14 to 16, so we're going to tell you a minute, 14 seconds. Dr. Amos Wilson going to be talking, but it's going to take you a whole 90 seconds. Do your man a favor. See you tomorrow. 2 fingers, 1 word. Just your man, HRap. And have a great day, because
growth in wisdom, knowledge, you see, self-understanding and self-discovery, healthy relations, self-control, all those things are hateful. But this is the only way a minority can rule over a majority of people, is by turning their minds backwards so that they love the things that destroy them and hate the things that move them forward. In order for these people to rule over us, we must hate learning. It has to be built into us. We must think that we can't do math. Because you see, if we do math, if we were into learning, if we were into research and into thinking and into, real philosophical ideas and abstractions, we would defeat those people. They know it. So consequently, what they must do is rob you of all of these things so that they may stay in there.